For the last few days, it feels like the snow put life on pause here in South Louisiana, with many businesses and schools staying shut this week.
The BREC Baton Rouge Zoo has been closed since Monday, but the animals still have to be cared for. Fallon Brown tells us how they've managed to keep hundreds of animals warm and when the zoo will reopen.
Here's something you don't see often. The Baton Rouge Zoo covered in a blanket of snow. Otters enjoying the water in a different way. 2 days later, gazelles still chilling out.
I think it's kind of neat to see it.
But behind the scenes, the zoo has been working on a skeleton crew schedule to get these animals fed and cared for.
The thing you always worry the most about is getting staff from point A to point B, so getting them into the zoo, especially when the roads are bad. But then when they're here, you know, they're all locked in. They're just dialed in and focused on taking care of their animals. So
Zoo Director Jim Fleshman says even though the snow isn't common here, they prepare for it way ahead of schedule during the summer months.
We typically go through all our heater checks and heat lamp checks, and we do all that when it's about 100 degrees so that we're ready for weather like this if it happens.
Some of the African birds were taken off-site ahead of the Arctic blast. But the ones they couldn't catch have heat lamps in their enclosures, so their feathers don't freeze.
They can pretty much survive some cold temperatures because, you know, they fly at very high altitudes. But they just need to get a space to get out of the wind and get out of the freezing part of it.
For some of the bigger animals, like zebras, they're loving these frigid temperatures.
Most people don't realize that it does get really cold in Africa, and so there is snow in Africa, and so the zebras can adjust to it pretty easily. But they have interior barns where they can get in and get out of the weather as well.
And even though the cold has its pros and cons, Fleshman says it sure does beat being in the heat.
Anytime we can change an environment and make it unique, I think that's a good thing. As long as it's not for too long, just about anybody can withstand an hour or two, in cold weather. The animals are the same way.
Reporting in Baton Rouge, Fallon Brown, WBRZ News 2.
If you want to visit the animals with some snow still on the ground, the zoo will be open tomorrow for its usual operating hours.